Star Trek Discovery's latest episode is beamed into us. Hello everyone, my name is Jack, and welcome to Trek Central. Today we're reviewing the latest episode of Star Trek Discovery, Project Daedalus. This was episode 9 in season 2 of Discovery, and it was written by Michelle Paradise and directed by the legendary Jonathan Frakes, who, for those who don't know, played Commander Riker in The Next Generation. How could you not know? And once again, Jonathan Frakes has done a fantastic job at directing this episode. It was really, you can tell it is directed by a Star Trek veteran just because of the way the episode forms. And wow, it was amazing. Alright, we're going to be jumping straight into a spoiler review today, so if you've not seen the episode yet, this is your warning. Abandon ship now, there is going to be spoilers in this video. To check out our unspoiler review, don't forget to head over to our Twitter and Facebook accounts. Alright, if you haven't abandoned ship yet, then get ready, because you're going to see some spoilers. So, Project Daedalus begins with the US Discovery conveniently hiding in an almost silent running mode in the middle of like some sort of planet. It's kind of like hiding. We don't know what the planet is, but it seems to be hiding like dark space almost. A shuttle then comes flying in towards it. I originally thought, oh, the crew have abandoned the Discovery or something, but no, turns out it was just silent running, so they turned all the lights off and turned the deflector dish off, which is quite funny when you think about it. Turns out this is actually Admiral Cornwell's shuttle. She rendezvous with Pike and Sue in a hangar bay, and then they talk about, Section 31. Quite bad. It's pretty clear that Pike has a lot of issues with Section 31 at this point. But Admiral Cornwell's like, yeah, I understand your problem. I want to go speak to Spock. She goes to speak to Spock, and she begins using her sort of psychiatric training and she turns the lab into a psych ward essentially and talks to Spock and, asks him if all of his answers are 100% accurate. She's trying to work out whether he's been, doctored to say something else, whether he did actually kill those people, but he doesn't know if he actually did. Turns out he is telling the truth. They later do actually find out that the footage is, edited, but, more on that later. Now, Cornwell eventually reveals she does actually have issues with Section 31 as well, and she's not a big fan of Admiral Patar, who we've seen in the previous episode. So it actually turns out that Admiral Patar is a Vulcan logic extremist, and has apparently cut off communication with Starfleet. Not a good thing. Also, apparently Starfleet Command have grown repeatedly, going over to Section 31's control computer system that's offering like strategic analysis and threat analysis. Apparently Starfleet Command is saying, look, we're referring to that a lot more. And Cornwell, being a almost like by the book admiral, is not really happy with that. She believes that Starfleet Command must make decisions themselves, not have a computer do it for them. This is actually a bit of a throwback to what Mira Jojo said in the last episode, where she said, in my universe, AI answered to her. Kind of a bit similar there. Maybe Cornwell and the Emperor would get along again if they met. There was a nice, interesting dynamic of when Cornwell did come on board and Sue was like, lovely to see you again. Because, of course, Cornwell did actually command the Discovery for a while. Quite a nice little dynamic there. Now, another good subplot inside this episode and the previous episode is all revolving around Lieutenant Commander Ariam. She's the augmented human that's on board the ship and conveniently does control the spore drive occasionally. Now, we actually find out a lot of her backstory here. Particularly, she was actually just a normal human. She wasn't augmented before, but she actually became augmented due to a shuttle crash, which claimed the life of her husband as well. We get to see a little back video replay of Ariam missing her husband and her hair and just her body overall, to be honest. You get to see this in a little video clip. If I've got any shots of it, I will chuck it on screen, but I'll chuck some screenshot on there now. And we see Ariam's previous life. They're walking along a beach. It's her husband with her. We see the actual actress who plays Ariam, Hannah Cheeseman, I believe she's called. And we see that then. It's kind of like, oh wow, Ariam was actually, a proper human before she had to have cyber augments. So it kind of gives us the origin of why she's augmented as a human. So she's not actually an android like Data or anything, or an earlier prototype like some were thinking. She's actually a normal human, but has been cybernetically augmented to essentially save her life following a shuttle accident. As someone did mention to me on Twitter, to add, insult to injury, this apparently did happen right after the honeymoon. So it's like, wow, that's quite bad. She actually keeps a vial of sand from a beach location on her desk. Tilly comes and points this out. I really got to hand it off to Hannah Cheeseman. She did step up to the plate and, bring Ariam as a proper, physical character to the screen. Previously, the issue I've had with Discovery is a lot of the bridge characters, such as Ariam, Reese, Detmer and stuff like that, have been more background characters. We don't know much about them. They're kind of individual and you don't see much of them. Well, now we're getting to see them a lot more. We actually see Ariam actually has a sense of humour as well. I remember Chuck Movie pointed this out on Twitter as well. It was quite funny. Like she teases Tilly by saying those are the memories she always deletes. Because Ariam actually has to back up or archive her memory. And we actually find in a later part of the episode, she archives all her personal memories into Discovery's computer to free up her download space in her actual head, I guess. Now, you sort of see Ariam slipping into that sort of, control version where this virus is actually controlling her. And what's interesting is Security Chief Nan actually catches onto this and begins, looking around her. Now, one creepy thing is Ariam turns around at one point and asks Nan if she requires a breathing apparatus as it's an augment. And it's really a creepy moment because it actually freaks Nan out, I believe. So from then on, Nan keeps shadowing Arian around corners and stuff, as watching what she's up to. Okay, now obviously the dynamic between Spock and Burnham is being teased and dig into a lot of this episode. We see Spock and Burnham being tested, and ultimately Spock does stand up to Burnham and says the famous quote, or what's become famous throughout this series, is you assume every burden is yours to carry alone. And he basically says, everything you've done, you presume it's against you, and in fact, a lot of it is against me. This particularly goes back to the last couple of episodes where we mentioned logic extremists challenged or wanted to basically attack Sarek's house, which contained, Amanda, Spock, and obviously Michael. And Michael originally thought the logic extremists were after her, but it turns out they were after Spock because he was a human Vulcan half-breed. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to see that there. And obviously they have sort of like a brotherly sister fallout, and they kind of storm off there and don't speak again. I expect next episode we will end up seeing the actual chemistry between them reform. Now, there's actually a really cool scene between Commander Stamets and Spock, where they basically talk about it, and Spock gives him some advice about Hugh Culber, and then Stamets gives some advice to Spock about Burnham, and it's quite an interesting dynamic there. And for a minute though, I thought there was a connection to the Red Angel between Stamets and Spock, because at one point, Stamets said, if I was a Red Angel travelling through time, I wouldn't just pick any Vulcan, and which really made me think, if he's travelling through time, he'd know the person that Spock would become, the legendary Commander Spock of the Enterprise comes to be Ambassador Spock. So that's why he chose him. And it just stuck out to me as a little like, I wonder if that's a nod to what Spock will become. Interesting, though. Interesting. Now, of course, they eventually arrive to the Section 31 headquarters, which we can see is actually a penal colony previously, and it's built before the war. Now, Admiral Cornwell actually basically says something which, sticks out quite a lot. In fact, she goes, we were during war. We had to do what we do to survive. And Pike basically fires off on one. Sparks. It's kind of an awkward argument between Pike and Cornwell, and he goes off about the principles of Starfleet. He basically says, is this why we sat out the war? Because he thought he would challenge everything Starfleet did. And that's why they made him sit out the war. Cornwell actually says a lot of what all of us were thinking. She made the USS Enterprise sit out the Klingon war because if, Federation was destroyed and Starfleet was gone, she wanted the best of Starfleet to be safe and secure, which was the crew of the USS Enterprise led by Captain Pike. She wanted the values of the Federation and Starfleet to survive. And it's kind of like, And Cornwell has this great line of like, will you get off my ass and let me do our jobs? And it's just fantastic. I love Jane Brooke playing Cornwell. She is really cool, a by-the-book admiral, and I do hope we get to see more of her in this season and throughout the rest of Star Trek Discovery, as she is really cool. Kind of reminds me of an Admiral Forrest from an early day sort of Star Trek Enterprise. Unfortunately, we know he met a bad fate, but hopefully it won't happen here. Section 31's HQ is full of surprises. It's obviously in a ban and penal colony. An interesting base. It has these mines which basically cut through things, and they have this sort of, weird thing where it's like, it's a computer, we have to think before it. Kind of reminds me of like the Star Wars battle droids things, like they're battle droids, they're slow, they'll catch up. It was sort of cliche where it's like, we have to outthink them. Pike begins asking all the bridge officers for their like evasive patterns, which is quite cool because obviously the computer would presume the captain or the helm officer would give the evasive patterns, but when selecting people off the bridge to give the evasive patterns, the obviously Section 31 control computer couldn't actually outthink them. It eventually did catch up. Eventually, an away team is sent over to the Section 31 starbase. This is formed of Michael, Nan, and Ariam, who volunteered to join the party. What could possibly go wrong? It's not like she's controlled by a virus. Now, you can see here, Jonathan Frakes did a fantastic job of changing the vibe of the entire episode to more of a horror thing there. Walking in its airless gravity station with spooky creaking going around, kind of reminds you of being in a submarine, is actually quite scary, and yeah, it was quite good. Now, one interesting dynamic is, as I came across in my analysis of the preview thing, we do actually find the dead Starfleet Command Admirals on board. We see Patar, Gorge, the Andorian, who I forget the name of, and I think there was another person there. Fun fact, these were the same admirals who were briefing Leland in the previous episodes last week, including Admiral Patar, who was monologuing Cornwell and Pike in the earlier part of this episode. She came up and said, "You're fugitives of the Federation, I'm going to arrest you," when originally Cornwell wanted to arrest her. So you can see there's a bit of a headbutting between the admirals. Well, it turns out Patar's actually dead, and the control AI had been using holograms of these admirals to do its evil bidding. Quite freaky there, and we kind of thought of that originally. Kind of when I analysed the episode preview, I thought Gorch would have just been killed and Patar was the one pulling the strings, but no, it seems the other way around. Turns out the control AI basically depressurized the entire station and froze the admirals to death. Yeah, kind of quite scary. That AI seems super powerful. It also edited the Spock escape from the psychiatric report and apparently, doctored the imaging so it looked like Spock did kill the people in the psychiatric ward. Luckily, Saru's on hand to say, nope, don't worry, I trust Spock, he's doing okay, and we obviously get that revealed. Now, although Nam was the one who was picking up, kind of clues on what Ariam was up to, Tilly was the one who put the pieces back together. Control wanted Ariam on the station as Ariam has actually downloaded all the data about that mysterious sphere the Discovery encounter, which controlled or contained information on artificial intelligence. The Control AI wanted that so it could become self-sufficient and basically ultimate AI in the Star Trek universe. If it had that information, it would have been like, unstoppable. It wouldn't need to think of anything. And there's actually a connection here. If Control had got that information, it would have eventually been able to wipe out all sentient life in the galaxy. But it's unsure whether that was Control's ultimate ambition or not, because I look back to the Control book by David Mack, and that's not what it was trying to do. So I don't know, maybe there's something else going down here and it kind of jumps to conclusions, but I guess we'll have to wait and see in the next episode. Eventually the jig's finally up and Airiam, goes full evil mode. She goes berserk, kicking Burnham and Narn around the place. There's actually a bit of a gore scene, as I was meant to say, where Airiam rips off Narn's breathing apparatus and Narn is almost like suffocating there. Eventually she does get over it. Airiam and Michael get into a fist fight, not going too well. They're punching the shit out of each other. Yeah, for a minute though, I thought Airiam was actually going to win. Jonathan Frakes does a fantastic job of creating that suspense between the characters. It really is quite good. Eventually Airiam gets shot out inside an airlock and Burnham is forced to eject it out of there. Just before she does that, she tries to break through to the Control AI to shut it down and reset it so they could save Airiam. That doesn't entirely work, and Narn is forced to eject the airlock. There is a cool, interesting dynamic here where Burnham is obviously grief-stricken, and she is trying to say, no, I can save Airiam, I'm not ejecting out of the airlock, and Spock actually comes on the bridge and says, Michael, you have to do this. Which is quite a cool, brother moment between Michael and Spock there. Narn is actually the one who ejects Airiam out of the airlock, and she goes, and it's just Airiam is jetted off into space. But just before she does, Airiam has one last sort of gift for her friends, I guess you could refer to it as. She says their next stop should be seek out Project Daedalus, conveniently what the episode is actually named off. We'll cover more Project Daedalus in a week, so keep an eye out for that. And there we go, Airiam is ejected out into space. It's kind of a sad moment, and yeah, that's it. That's, the end of Airiam there, and it's kind of a shame because she was an interesting character. We got to know her in this episode, and they just killed her off. But yeah, a bit brutal there. But yeah, that's been Star Trek Discovery latest episode. Overall, my review and thoughts on this episode is wow. That was one hell of an amazing episode. Again, Jonathan Frakes has done a fantastic job of directing this episode, and Hannah Cheeseman has been amazing in, bringing Airiam to life. I hope, we get to see more of the individual characters on the bridge throughout the rest of the season, as they really are getting brought to life as more, likable characters within the Star Trek Discovery universe. So yeah, that's my episode review for Star Trek Discovery, Episode 9, Project Daedalus. I'll be analysing the episode in greater detail tomorrow, so make sure to tune into that. We'll be going over certain details on what they mean for the future of Star Trek Discovery and the next couple of episodes. If you want to see the promo video for episode 10, I will stick this on screen just after now, but you can go and view it over on Twitter and Facebook if you do want to share it amongst your friends. I've been Captain Jack here on Trek Central. Thank you for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow with an analysis on Project Daedalus. Goodbye.
There are so many reasons to join Starfleet. We get to reach for the stars. We get to reach for the best in ourselves. We get to reach for each other.
On your mark, Commander.
Ready.